All right, we are here talking all things San Francisco 49ers football. Training camp is right around the corner, but today we're talking about Steve Young, his comments on Brock Purdy, and I got to listen to a little bit more to see what he said about Trey Lance as well. Also, elite physical traits. How important are they at the NFL level? And San Francisco 49ers top 50 players that they have according to PFF. Where does the 49ers roster stack up to the rest of the NFC, the NFL? We're going to talk about all that and more. Make sure that you hit the like button and
Subscribe to this video.
let's go, let's go, let's go. I hope everybody's having a great morning. I see the flames coming in. Michael with the 5 flames, Jane with the 5 flames, Niner Gang podcast, my guy Dion with the flames. Everybody feeling good. And I'm not going to lie, I'm feeling pretty good as well because football is here. I'm not going to lie, y'all. Like, talking about certain things with the 49ers and the storylines is fun, but ultimately, I just like talking football. I saw someone, he was a Dallas Cowboy guy, and he had asked the question on Twitter, are you a fan of a team or a fan of football? And obviously, I mean, we're fans of the team, but team or not, I am a fan of football. I love football. If the 49ers aren't playing, I'm still sitting down at my couch watching football. If the 49ers just got blown up today, they blew up the organization and they went away, I would still be a diehard fan of football. I love watching football. And I hope when I talk about these things, you guys can hear that. And I think a lot of people actually can, but they don't truly understand what it means. Or I think sometimes that's why I come off a certain way. I think that's what it is. It's like, man, why? No, Croc, why you say this and then you say that? Because look, I'm a fan of football first. I love football. All right. But anyways, we're going to get into some really good stuff here. Again, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe button. This show is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. And if you look in the description below, I have a link, man. You can sign up using promo code Crocky, and you see all the details right there below. Use promo code Crocky to double your deposit up to $100. Man, Underdog Fantasy is about to really take off over the next month or so, where you got the fantasy drafts with best ball format. You got the higher, lower picks. You have the predictions for the year, which I already put up some for my 49ers kind of predictions on what I think is going to happen with the over-under on their yards and all that type of stuff. So make sure you guys go to Underdog Fantasy or download the app, underdogfantasy.com right now, and use promo code Crocky. Promo code Crocky. All right, let's get into some stuff. All right, first we're going to start off with the 49ers top 50 players. And they actually have the most in the entire NFL. All right, so 49ers top 50 players, the most in the NFL according to PFF. You got at 3, Trent Williams. So Trent Williams, who was graded out as like the highest PFF player ever in the history of PFF last year, he's third on their list. Coming in at 6, you got Nick Bosa. At 14, you got Fred Warner. 39, you got George Kittle. 44, you got Christian McCaffrey. And 50, you got Deebo Samuel. And I'm pretty sure a lot of 49er fans will probably say, Christian McCaffrey a little low on that list. Now, a lot of what PFF does is more of an analytically kind of driven list. It's not so much opinion. So I know just opinion, we would say Christian McCaffrey should be higher. How they go about making their list and the analytical way they go about it, I ain't really looking into that. But the one thing that did, and Deebo Samuel at 50, the one thing that did stand out to me was just how many players, and I wanted to just talk about what does it mean? Like, what does it mean that the San Francisco 49ers have 6 players in the top 50, the most in the entire NFL? And the thing I came away with first was Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch's eye for fit. All right, not even just eye for talent, because anybody can, put together a talented roster. We've seen that before. I think it was the Philadelphia Eagles. They kind of dubbed it the dream team. Was it? I want to say Vince Young had said that, right? And Vince Young, he wasn't even the starter. I think Mike Vick was. But they had put together a team, and they were like, "Oh, this is the dream team." And then they went out there, didn't do well. Namdi Asamoah flopped. Just overall, the team didn't play well. So 49ers, they didn't just accumulate a bunch of talent. They accumulated the right fit. And I think that starts with Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch. and the way that they view guys fit on their team. We're going to get into a lot of talent and traits and things like that as it pertains to guys like playing well and what goes into that. And really that conversation is surrounding Brock Purdy. But I think when you look at the 49ers, you can look at holes in their team. And I think over the last few years, unless the team is just injury riddled, it's interesting how it hasn't mattered that maybe at certain positions they don't have like these top tier players. I see everybody kind of talk down on the 49ers and their roster. And all they do is continue to be a top team in the NFL. I get it. A lot of people upset about them maybe not winning the Super Bowl, and that is tough. But I'll tell you this, because I'm a fan of football more than anything, I enjoy watching the 49ers just compete. Just compete. Right now, at the start of the season, I feel strongly that, hey man, the 49ers, they'll be in the NFC championship game, right? They'll be in the divisional round. Like, I know they'll have a shot and an opportunity to be in the Super Bowl. And there's a lot of people that just really can't say that. You look at I'm trying to think, Houston Texans, right? They're kind of in this rebuild. And I bet if you ask a Houston Texans fan, they're excited, but for different reasons. They want to see Bryce Young play. They want to see or Bryce Young, excuse me, he's on the Panthers. CJ Stroud. They want to see, the Texans want to see CJ Stroud. And what does that look like with Damian Pierce? And what does it look like with some of the receivers they have, and Mechie coming back and all this defense, man? We got Will Anderson. So they're excited about seeing their young talent. They got Stingley last year. Like, what does that look like? The 49ers, though, they're excited for different reasons, all right, the fans. We're excited because we feel like there's a legit opportunity for the 49ers to really win the Super Bowl. And there's not a lot of people that can say that. And people talk down on the 49ers roster, I feel like every year. Or they'll point to, well, you can't do this because they don't have a quarterback. Well, has it mattered that the 49ers haven't had a quote-unquote franchise quarterback over the last 4 years when they made the NFC Championship 3 different times? Now, you might be able to say, and I say you might be able to say, well, they won't win the Super Bowl because of quarterback position. And we'll find that out. But I know one thing, regardless of who's at the quarterback spot, the 49ers, they're going to have a chance. Why? Because of the roster fit, the elite players, those 6 guys that are in the top 50, and then who surrounds them. So I know as we dive into the 49ers roster and camp battles, and you look at that edge position and you're like, you got Nick Bosa, but opposite him, like, what is Drake Jackson going to be in? If he's not the guy, can it be Cleveland Farrell? Can it be Brian? Or can it be Kerry Hyder? Or whoever it is, right? But there's like that question mark. Or, look at the right tackle spot. And you got McKivitz. And is he going to be good? Madden has him at like a 64 overall, right? Whatever it is, you're going to look at those spots. And there's going to be some question marks. But I tell you this, it doesn't matter. Now, when I say it doesn't matter, I don't mean it doesn't matter to be good, because some of the people that are talking about the 49ers and how, they got the top 6, but it doesn't matter because they go, what? You're a Cowboy fan. You guys lost to Brock Purdy in this, and you guys lost to Jimmy Garoppolo. So did it matter then that you didn't feel that those guys were franchise quarterbacks, but they still beat your team? So I think that's, to me, the interesting part with the 49ers and the way that they constructed this roster, man. A lot of talent. But overall, it hasn't mattered to the point where it's something that's going to really, truly hold them back wherever it is. And there are guys, around the league that might even have better quarterbacks. This is one thing I've realized over the last few years. Heading to the playoffs, as far as my confidence level in the 49ers quarterback position, not extremely high as it pertains to like the other quarterbacks in the NFC. I would say that of the NFC quarterbacks, you might say the 49ers have the 6th or even 7th best quarterback in the playoffs, right? Like, you might say that. And if you said that, I wouldn't give you a whole lot of pushback. But the team is so good and they're so well coached that part of it doesn't matter. So when you see these people say, "Oh, well, they got a good roster, whatever," but the quarterback position is going to hold them back. No, it's not. It might hold them back from winning the whole thing. And why is that? Because at some point, like you need your quarterback kind of play above and beyond. And we'll see, Brock Purdy, and we'll get to him on that. But overall, the 49ers, they're going to be good. They're going to be good. Now I see Mike in the chat and he's like, Croc, that's crazy talk. And I know people are going to take it that way, but it's not. It's not. Heading into the playoffs over the last few years, when you look at and I'm assuming you're talking about like where people might say the 49ers quarterback position is, probably not as high as other quarterbacks. That doesn't mean that the quarterbacks suck. That doesn't mean that they're not going to play well. Even Jimmy Garoppolo, I didn't think he was ever going to just like light it up in the playoffs. But I figured, you know what? Jimmy's going to play well enough for this team and this coaching staff and all that to where they're going to win games. And I felt like that last year, even with rookie Brock Purdy. And I thought he did very well against the Seahawks. And then obviously against the Dallas Cowboys, he did enough to help win that game, made some key throws down the stretch, and boom, next thing you know, you are in the NFC Championship game. So there are people that are going to talk down on the 49ers and, it doesn't matter that you got this, top 50 player, whatever. But ultimately, they will be good enough to win football games. So I look at this list and I see Trent Williams and Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel in the top 50 according to PFF, the most in the NFL. And I say, well, yeah, man, like Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, they have a terrific eye for talent and fit. And I think the fit part of it is most important. Going to dive into some of these comments here. I see everybody in the chat. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I think I saw my guy Jesse up in here. Where's Jesse? Here we go. Shout out to my guy Jesse last second. Sports said, would you trade any two of them for an elite quarterback? That's what it all comes down to. Would I trade any two of Trent Williams, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel? Yeah, I would. So I see what you're saying. You're like, well, yeah, you have those guys, but you would trade them for another quarterback. And I know there's a lot of people that push back on that. Now, again, we don't know exactly what Brock Purdy is. So I'm saying that now when it's July 24th, 2023 at 8:46 a.m. Central Time. I can say that. Now, come week 10, I might be saying something different, right? Brock Purdy lighting it up and he's a franchise. He looks like, man, this is a franchise quarterback. Then I'd be like, maybe I wouldn't give them up. But as of right now, it's like, yeah, I mean, kind of a no-brainer. No-brainer. Here we go. We got Bomber T. The Super Bowl is overrated. The bandwagons just care about it. I just want to see my Niners play. So that's kind of, and I see Callie Young, he disagrees. That's kind of my stance on it. And it's not to say that I don't want to see the 49ers win the Super Bowl, bro. I've been waiting since 1995. But I think there is something to, in the middle of the season, when a lot of people just feel like they have no chance. And 49ers, we've been there, right, as fans. 2016, I mean, come on, man. They won 2 games. In the middle of the season, it's like, all right, who are they going to draft number 1 overall or number 2 overall? And 3 out of the last 4 years, 49ers in the NFC Championship game, and you just feel like, got a chance. And I like that feeling. Of course you want the Super Bowl. Of course. I'm pretty sure Bomber T won Super Bowl as well. But in the sense of having something to root for throughout the year, I think that's what he means by saying that it's overrated. That's what I'm assuming. I could be wrong. But yes, a lot needs to go right for you to win the Super Bowl. A lot needs to go right for you to win the Super Bowl. Okay. Steve Young, he was talking with Mayoko, and he kind of goes on, and he says some things about Brock Purdy. But real quick, before we actually get into that, hold on. I'm going to throw out some numbers here. And I want y'all to tell me, who is this quarterback? All right, I'm going to throw some numbers out. 11-3. All right, so this is an actual season. There's this quarterback in recent years, I'll say last 7 years. All right, this quarterback had this season. He went 11-3 as a starter. Clearly, he didn't start the season as a starter, but he started 14 games. All right, played in 15 games, started 14 games in a 16-game season. All right, went 11-3 in those games, completed 67.6 of his passes. So that was his completion percentage, 67.6. Threw for 3,500 yards, 35-47 in those games. Not, I mean, again, he didn't start the full season. I assume if you kind of put that over a full season, that's over 4,000 yards. Uh, touchdowns. Where's his touchdowns and INTs? Here we go. 22 touchdowns, 7 picks. All right. So I'm gonna say it again. This guy went 11-3 as a starter, completed 67.6% of his passes, threw for 3,500 yards, and again, this is in 14 starts, and 22 touchdowns, 7 picks. Who is that quarterback? It is not. It is not Nick Mullins. It is not Baker Mayfield. He also won a playoff game. All right. So it's going to be hard for y'all to guess who this is. Now, it's not Herbert. All right. Now, again, Herbert, I don't think they ever went 11-3 with Herbert. All right. So now let's talk about this guy before that year and after that year. Okay. Before that year, he went 4-5 as a starter and only completed 60% of his passes. After that season, or after the 11-3 season, he went 6-10. He started the entire season. Went 6-10, completed 62% of his passes, 18 touchdowns to 15 interceptions. Like, what happened? What happened? And why is there this outlier season? It's not Wentz, it's not Mariota, it's not Dak. It's not Brissett. It is Case Keenum. It's Case Keenum. So in 2017, Case Keenum had an amazing season and played extremely well. Won a playoff game. Knocked off the Saints in the wild card round. Crazy game, right? Like that was the Minnesota Miracle. I think that's what they call it, where he threw the touchdown to Diggs and the guy missed and Diggs ran in through his helmet. That's like an epic picture as well. And I say that because let's dive into some of the things that Steve Young said. All right, and then we're gonna circle back around to this. Steve Young starts talking about Brock Purdy. And he says, Brock Purdy is an incredible, unique human being. And he says, I'm just not going to limit him. I'm not going to limit him. Just let him loose. Let him cook. Those are his words. All right. Let Brock Purdy cook. And he talks about all the things that he likes about him, right? He's talking about the processing and, all the, he talks about all that, right? And I'm listening. And I see on Twitter, this conversation pops up and somebody talks about, oh yeah, well, Steve Young is not going to limit him, blah, blah. You don't need the big arm. You don't need this. You don't need that. He has the force. That's what Steve Young said. Shout out to David Yang in the chat. He said, yeah, he got the force, right? And he compared it to like the Star Wars thing where it's kind of like this force. He's like, it's so thick, like the force and just what he is. And I'm like, you know what, man, I hope Brock Purdy is that. I hope Brock Purdy is that. And I got to thinking because somebody was like, well, Steve Young's not going to limit him. I'm like, you know what? Just because Steve Young says he's not going to limit him, and I stopped kind of giving takes on Twitter because it gets a little wild, right? But I'm like, just because Steve Young says he's not going to limit him, that doesn't mean that Brock Purdy doesn't have limitations. He does have physical limitations. My response was, even with physical limitations, you can work around those things, right? Like I use an example with Richard Sherman. Richard Sherman was a 6'3" corner, long, athletic, played receiver, went to the cornerback position, was drafted 5th round because he didn't run as fast, right? 4.57, and that is a limitation, like just not being fast at the cornerback position. But if you learn how to play around that, right? I was more of a 4.55, 4.57 type of guy as well. I didn't truly learn how to play around that at the highest level, right? And some of it has to do with scheme. I think Richard Sherman fell into the right scheme that for him. I think the way he played, the way they used his strengths, I think they did an exceptional job of that. And next thing you know, Richard Sherman is a Hall of Fame player, right? I assume that he should be first ballot. I don't know what y'all think, but I think he should be first ballot. But you can have these quote unquote physical limitations in the sense of like something that's not like this elite trait, but still play very well. Now, the difference, and this is why I brought Case Keenum in, and obviously we'll talk about Brock Purdy as well. Guys that don't have physical, these elite physical traits, right? And they have to count on something else for it to like be good. A lot of times you can play well, but even then it's like your best can't touch the best of somebody that's more physically gifted. And that's just kind of like that's being realistic, right? Like Cam Newton. Dude, Cam Newton, what is he a complete a career 58% completion percentage guy, right? Like not the most accurate. I don't think anybody in here would be like, man, Cam Newton was hella accurate. No, he wasn't. He wasn't. But Cam Newton, he just somehow, some way, in a season or even over a stretch of a few years, he can be one of the best players in the NFL while not being accurate. How? It's because, bro, I am so physically gifted that even though I'm not elite at this accuracy, or maybe even some of the things that Steve Young was talking about, processing, all that, it doesn't matter because I'm hella fucking talented, right? Like it don't matter. So in this year, I can be league MVP and lead the Carolina Panthers to a 15-1 record. And in this year, I can get us a first round bye. And you know, we lose to the 49ers. And then this year, I can do this. And he going to the playoffs because he just has elite talent. And I look at the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't think that Jalen Hurts is this elite passer. Now, he can make some elite throws. I don't think he's like this elite passer of the football. But situation matters. And some of the things that you can rely on, even when you don't have your fastball, can get you by. So we saw him, man, if the throwing wasn't work, man, the running was going to work. And I'm going to run, I'm going to do all these things. And next thing you know, MVP caliber season because I can rely on this, right? So when I look at Brock Purdy and just watching him, right? And somebody was like, Croc, what do you think? Why do you think he was like a 73 overall? Why do you think Brock Purdy is a 73 overall on Madden? That's disrespectful, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, it's tough because he doesn't have elite physical traits. Now, what does he do have? He might be an elite processor, right? Being able to throw with timing and rhythm and be consistently accurate, right? He can do all those things. And if he can continue to do those things, he can be really good. I always look at, when we start trying to crown a guy as a franchise quarterback, when he doesn't have his fastball, what can he turn to? What does it look like, right? Like, can he create the explosive plays? And maybe he can. I think those are things that I want to continue to see him do this year. But listening to Steve Young, and Steve Young's a hell of a lot smarter than me. Like on the football field, off the football field, he's like this super mega mind type guy. So he knows what he's talking about. When he sees something, I believe him. But I don't watch enough football to where I'm like, you know what, Steve, you're all in. I'm inching towards that, but I'm not gonna be as all in as you because I've seen where these guys like Case Keenum and some of the other guys have these good years, and it's just like, okay, that was a really good year. Saw it, can't do it again. It's like, damn, Case Keenum just couldn't do it again. He just couldn't do it. Now, maybe it could be a situation. Maybe that Minnesota Vikings game was tailored to the, tailored to where Keenum could be the best version of him. And then once he left the Vikings and went to Denver and then went to all these, and he's like, and he was not very good. And he's like, oh yeah, he is a backup, maybe that's what it was. But for whatever, in this system right now, I think Brock Purdy plays extremely well and he does a really good job. And I see Axel say, hey, didn't Peacock say he has elite short area speed? I think he has very good short area quickness. I think he has very good short area quickness. And I think that helps. I think that definitely helps. as far as the playmaking aspect of it. If he didn't have it, we would probably look at him a lot like Nick Mullins. But he does have it, so he's not Nick Mullins. He's better than Nick Mullins. All right. Now we got Texas Niner. He says, "I hear you, Croc. Except expectations of what we got from Purdy last season could hit this season, but I don't think so." Hey, I think he could. I think that Brock Purdy could very well repeat everything he did last year and play very well. I think he could do it. I just don't know for certain. I'm just not as all in as Young. Again, Steve Young knows a lot more than me. But I just have to see it again because I know when you don't have that one thing, I can consistently rely on. I have to rely on the mind. Like I have to rely on the processing and all that, and then the guy that is just harder. And then the guys that do master that at the highest level, then they are really good. And now we're talking about Drew Brees category or Tom Brady, and maybe Brock has some of that, right, where he's just like, I refuse to lose. I'm going to be really good. I'm going to be consistent at this. And if he could do that, then we are talking about a Drew Brees or Tom Brady or something like that, right? But if it's not to that extent, then what does it look like? And that's the hard part, right? Like if he's not from the consistency standpoint, and I'm asking y'all, all right? If it's not to the point of Drew Brees and some of these guys, what does a step down look like? I think some people would, off the top of your head, would be like, well, Kirk Cousins, Jimmy Garoppolo, Carr, I think kind of in that mode where Cousins probably out of those guys, just the most consistent out of all those guys, doesn't get hurt, plays a lot of games, develop the big ball. I think Kurt's arm is better than Brock Purdy. I think Kirk is underrated with his speed, straight line, even though Brock Purdy definitely got him in the short area quickness. All right. Brock's worst is that's BS. Because you weren't saying that when Brock Purdy when Nick Mullins was throwing for against goddamn New York Jets and New York Giants, 300 and something yards and multiple touchdowns. And Mullins, the disrespect towards Mullins, he was on the terrible. Like the team wasn't set up the same. Now, this isn't me pinning Mullins against Brock. I don't want to come off as that. Like at the end of the day, whatever. They are who they are. But I feel like Mullins, when we start talking about like kind of his situation, I think Mullins is probably a lot closer to Brock than people want to admit. The biggest difference to me is Brock got a little bit more playmaking ability in him. Like he's like, hey, let me start moving around and make some plays where Mullins not really going to give you that. You know what I'm saying? He ain't going to give you that. I think that was a difference. And that's a big difference. That's a big difference. But Mullins, in the sense of like, if you were to say, man, why is Nick Mullins good? What makes Nick Mullins an NFL quarterback, right? I would say that a lot of the things that you would list off would be pretty much identical to Brock Purdy, except for that one thing, which is short area quickness, which makes Brock more of a playmaker. And that's a compliment. That's a compliment to Brock. I don't want anybody to think like, oh, you're just talking bad about Brock. Nah, man. Nah. But as far as like just them playing the quarterback positions and a lot of things that you're going to point to first as to why, Nick Mullins or Brock, like who's better, whatever, like it's very similar. It's very similar. I think Nick Mullins processed well. Student of the game. No nonsense type guy. I think he was pretty accurate. Didn't have the biggest arm, right? Like a lot of it's the same stuff. That's what led him to throw for the third most yards over the first 16 starts in NFL history. Mullins not a bum from that standpoint. I think his biggest downfall is that, hey, he didn't have George Kittle for a lot of the season. He didn't have Deebo Samuel for a lot of the season. He didn't have, the number one defense for a lot of the season. Nick Bosa got hurt. Yeah, Solomon Thomas got hurt. It's like, bro, okay, I got to throw the ball to Brandon Ayuk. Okay, I'm going to throw the ball to Brandon Ayuk. Okay, I got to throw it to Kendrick Bourne. Okay, I'm going to throw it to Kendrick Bourne. Okay, I got to do this for a whole season. Damn, that's kind of tough. Damn, I got no one defense. Damn, it's kind of tough. That's tough. Ultimately, again, and this is going back to Steve Young. I understand why Steve Young is all in on Brock. I personally can't wait to see this season. And I hope that Steve Young is right. Now, obviously, there is that dark cloud looming. I think that's Trey Lance. And when I say dark cloud, I don't mean that in a bad way. It could be in a bad way over guys that just want Brock Purdy to start. But I am really excited to see, come Wednesday and from there on, what does Trey Lance look like? And I just see this video of him throwing, and it looks quicker. The throwing motion looks quicker and all that. No, that's cool. When the live bullets start flying, you'll see, right? Like, okay, is it really quicker, or is it just in a controlled setting? He's good with there, but I wonder what Lance is gonna look like, and I'm rooting for the kid. I'm rooting for all the guys. Like, I want Brock to be good. I want I want Sam Darnold to be good. Man, fight on USC. I want Brock to be good. I like Trey Lance. I want all these guys to be good. I want to see Jimmy Garoppolo play well. I started off this by saying I'm a football fan, so I always want to see everybody play well. I always want to see. I want to see Geno Smith play well. Obviously I was on the Jets with him for a bit, but I'm a football fan first and foremost, and I want to see everybody do well. And I want to see Lance. I would love to see that, especially when guys start down the guy, or as much heat as Trey Lance has taken on social media. I see it in the chat all the time. I see it on Twitter all the time. You got people that have dedicated social media accounts to pointing out any bad or flaw to Trey Lance. So I'm hoping Trey Lance kicks ass. And I would say the same for any quarterback that people doubt, or, just want to see guys do well. That's it. Hope everybody's doing well. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, click the link now. Here's the link so you can come on live and we could discuss just your thoughts on any of this. We talked about 49ers top 50 players, which is Trent Williams, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel. Are they one of the best units in the NFL, if not the best unit as a team? I saw someone say ESPN has the 49ers at eighth best roster. I bet if they felt like the 49ers had this solidified quarterback, like where it's just like, this is the guy, right? They'd be higher on that list. I think they would be higher on that list. Again, we got Underdog Fantasy right there. Download Underdog Fantasy at your Apple store or wherever, what is, I don't have a Android. The Market Store, what do they call it? What do they call an Android one? I didn't even know people really have Androids, but I guess they do. But anyways, I'm an Apple guy, so go to your Apple store, download the app Underdog Fantasy, or go to underdogfantasy.com. And when you sign up, use a promo code Crocky, and they'll double your initial deposit up to $100. The season is coming, so make sure you guys get on that. Please get on that. Underdog Fantasy, promo code Crocky. All right. My guy Jesse says it's the Play Store. All right, Play Store. Play Store sounds a little kinky. I ain't gonna lie. It sounds like out in Stockton. I'm from Stockton. Real 209, and we got Susie's out there. They still got Susie's in Stockton. They still got Susie's. Susie's to me, like, that's a Play Store. You feel me? They got a store out here in Little Rock too. I'm a little bit away from Little Rock, but I fly into Little Rock, and every once in a while, me and the wife take a trip to the little Play Store out there in Little Rock. You know what I'm saying? So make sure y'all, you gotta have a little fun with the significant other. All right, we're gonna have a little bit of fun. Pause with my guy Dion. Dion, good morning, man. How you doing, bro?
What's good, Croc? How you been, brother?
Oh man, I'm chilling. Your thoughts on Steve Young's comments? Steve Young, he's all in on Brock, and I can see why. It's just like, man, it just has it here. I did bring up guys like Case Keenum, and I'm like, I wonder what some like a Steve Young or anybody like, just if you just take that Case Keenum season and be like, man, Steve, what do you think about this? Would it sound a lot like what we just heard him say about Brock, and obviously that's without knowing the before and after from Case Keenum. So just some of your thoughts on what Steve Young had to say.
I mean, at this point, our ex quarterbacks commenting on our current quarterback situation. I truthfully just don't listen no more, man. And the reason that I don't listen anymore is because it seems like they fall in line with the narrative that Trey Lance isn't the guy and he can't do anything. And that annoys me and that bothers me. That they always have faith in everybody else except Trey Lance. You know what I'm saying? Uh, Joe was talking about keeping Jimmy and why would you get rid of him and he's a winner and you know Steve Young been so back and forth on his feelings on okay yeah play Trey well no Brock's done great play him like at this point, I truthfully don't even care what they say anymore. I respect their football acumen, but their opinions, Steve Young been too wishy washy for me, for my liking. Me personally, I've stuck to this narrative, and I'm going to stick to this narrative. If Brock Purdy is fully healthy with no setbacks, he will be our starter week 1. If he has any setbacks or if he's not fully ready to go, it's going to be Trey Lance. Anybody out there thinking that Sam Darnold has a chance, I need you to stop smoking whatever you smoking and get over it. Because it kills me that people think that he's actually ahead of Trey Lance in any way, shape, or form. We've all seen what Sam Darnold can be. And I know a lot of people get on me about this narrative, but USC quarterbacks in the NFL don't work out. The only USC quarterback in the league that meant anything over the past several years, just in recent memory, was Carson Palmer. And Palmer didn't even barely win a playoff game. Honestly, if you want to look at it from a standpoint, it's Mr. Butt Fumble that's more relevant than any of the USC quarterbacks that have come out ever. Why?
Hey, and I will
Because
say, after being on the
hey,
team
he
with, I
he
was on
went
the
to
team with,
he went to 2 AFC championship games back to
I was on the
back.
team with Mark Sanchez, and they did go to 2 AFC championship games, and that's the part right there, right? Went to an AFC championship, went to 2
There it
straight,
is.
like to start his career.
There it
And
is.
if you look at those, right, you might think like, oh man, like AFC championship games, like all he does is win, right? We kind of hear that. Well, it's
Mm-hmm.
not they actually beat the Patriots,
Yeah.
but look at the situation for him during that time. They leaned on
Yep.
the run game with
Leaned on
Green
the
and
defense.
all of and Tomlinson or whoever else they had,
Mm-hmm.
right? They leaned on
Yep.
the run game, and they leaned on a stout defense.
Defense.
And that
Yep.
was the recipe for a guy
Yeah.
like Mark Sanchez, who was not
Yep.
a great NFL quarterback, able to go to
Yeah.
back-to-back AFC championship games to start his career. And when I look at Brock, and I get it, uh, it comes off as hate. I'm not hating.
Yeah.
It feels like when I just watch him, it feels like he's more of that caliber of guy.
Yeah.
And that's not a knock. I think as long as the 49ers are good around him, he's going to be solid.
Yeah.
All right.
It's
Like, he's going to be good. But here's another USC quarterback right here. Do I think that Brock is like Caleb Williams? If yeah,
okay. First of all, let me get at you. When Caleb Williams win a Super Bowl, when he win a playoff game, come holler at your boy. Because look at the long history. I'm telling you this, and I'm only saying this because this is a fact. You can't dispute facts, people. Facts don't care about your feelings. Okay? You might be a USC fan, and that's great. Y'all turn out talent across the board. The only position y'all don't turn out talent is quarterback.
I think the quarterback's
USC,
just the hardest position. And
it
that's
is.
why if I am Steve Young or anybody else, like I'm high on Brock because I just know how hard it is to win at the NFL level. And Brock came in
Very.
and they won
It's
7
fair.
straight games. Like
It's
that's hard to do. So when
extremely
you
hard.
talk about USC quarterbacks, it's like it's hard. Like Palmer was good.
I'll say this.
He went to an NFC championship
Yeah.
game, didn't he, with the Arizona Cardinals?
No.
Yeah, he did.
Carson Palmer?
Yes.
Oh shit, he made. Well, you know what? Yeah, I forgot when he was with the Cardinals. He actually won. There you go. So
You know what I'm
he
saying?
did some things, but I'm just saying. Put like this. Part of the reason that I state what I state is number one, it's a fact. No USC quarterback has ever won a Super Bowl. Don't believe me? Look it up. I'm just telling you this is the truth of it. There's like literally the quarterbacks that win Super Bowls are from random ass colleges. No one specifically comes from one college and just keeps winning. There's no team in college that has
I
a
think
super
that goes to show just how
and how
difficult
hard it
it is
is.
to win
It's
Super Bowl.
really hard. But my thing with the whole Brock and Trey Lance situation, I stick to what I state, and I guarantee you that's going to come to fruition. You know what I'm saying? For me, my biggest thing with Sam Darnold is I've seen him, I know what he is, and I don't trust him. He sees ghosts on the field, and I don't trust. Everybody thinks that magically because you come in the Kyle Shanahan system, you're fantastic and you're great. You know what Kyle Shanahan does? He makes running backs. But he makes running backs that he doesn't draft because he sucks at drafting running backs. His picks for running backs are horrible. And if you don't believe me, go look that up because I can guarantee you the long list of people that he's drafted as running backs have done nothing. Look at TDP. You seen anything out of him? Nope. Look at Trey Sermon. Got cut. Look at the last few any running back that he touches in the draft is worthless. But when you come in as a
Elijah Mitchell,
UDFA
like,
or free
is
agent.
good when healthy.
Elijah Mitchell got glass knees.
He
He
got
can't
glass.
stay on the field. You would love for Elijah Mitchell to be on the field. You know why? 6 yards of carry? Who doesn't want that? You can't stay healthy. A couple days ago, they said somebody sent this to me, and they know they did it on purpose. They sent it to me. They said, "Hey, D, Jalen Hurd tried out for the Texans." I'm like, "For what? He ain't gonna do. He ain't gonna never hit the field. The man don't hit his back is not. It is what it is." Once again, people can be upset with what I'm saying. These are facts, not disputable. At the end of the day, it's either Brock Purdy, if fully healthy, or Trey Lance. Just delete Sam Darnold out of the equation because he's not going to be that guy. If Sam Darnold is in, there is a problem.
All
That
right.
is
Okay.
not
So
a good thing.
we don't have to keep going on Sam Darnold because
Got it.
basically what you're telling me is it's irrelevant to discuss him. So before I get to the next caller,
Yeah.
just what do you want to see out of Trey Lance training camp? Like just training camp starts. What are you looking forward to seeing from Lance? Because
I
we won't be
want.
able to see Purdy. I don't think we won't see much of
I
Purdy.
I would love to see the full starting offensive line in him for a start. Like, don't do this musical chairs with the O line consistently the whole time in front of Trey Lance, and then everybody gets to crap on him. And oh, look how he performed. He was so horrible. He was this, and you're rotating. Not even you don't even have the full line in front of him, outside of maybe Trent Williams because they'll give him vet days consistently. Second, I want to see him just be as consistent as possible. And third, I want to see him throw some good bombs. Hit Danny Gray. Hit that kid out of Michigan. Like find these dudes that have that speed and look at them and tell them, man, look, this is the play call. This is what you can do. I need you to get open because I'm going to show them that this is not a game. I want Trey Lance to step up, show that all the things he's been doing in the offseason have been great, and show his mechanics have improved, and just show up and show out. I don't want anyone to have any doubt. I notice it's a hard sell because everybody already has doubt. Lots of people calling him a bust and everything. But I want Trey Lance to walk in there and at a bare minimum, because I already know how Kyle works with his lion self, prove everybody wrong. Shut the doubters up that at a bare minimum, I'm at least a number two. Because we all know how Kyle is. He ain't gonna do nothing but go to the podium, omit to till the day before the first game of the season, and then they're gonna be like, "Well, who's your starter?" Oh, well, I have to put this play card in, so now I have to tell you who it is. Because he just sits there and lies, and the media eats it up, and they're stupid. Y'all ain't read this dude by now. You done seen Kyle for years. You ain't started to understand his body language and when he tell you the truth and when he not. Kyle ain't gonna tell you nothing, and the media is gonna run with this all the way up to the first game of the season. Quarterbacks, the 49ers don't know who their quarterback is. We'll never know. And then maybe it's Brock. Well, no, maybe it's no. At the end of the day, it is literally what I have stated. If fully healthy, ready to go, Brock is the guy. If not, they have to go to Trey Lance. If you go to Sam Darnold over Trey Lance, that just tells me that proves my narrative that Kyle don't like black quarterbacks.
Oh man. All right. All right. I hear you, Dion.
I'll
I'm
drop
gonna
that
get to the
bomb and
next.
I'm out.
I'm gonna get to the next caller, man. Appreciate you. I don't think that the issue is Kyle doesn't like black quarterbacks. I think, and we've talked about this before, I believe that, like anybody that orchestrates something, they want things done a very specific way. And I think that the way that Kyle wants things to be done, it takes a certain kind of quarterback to excel at that, especially at the highest level. And a lot of it has to do more with processing more so than just being a playmaker. And I mean, just in the execution of the play. There was someone, and I'm about to get to you in a second, case 49. There was someone on Twitter that they wanted to or open up a discussion between the processing or being able to kind of, or the football IQ of Joe Burrow in comparison to Patrick Mahomes. And I started to talk about how there are certain guys that, regardless of the IQ and whatever, they just don't have to rely on that. Or there's other things that can make them good. I talked about Cam Newton earlier. Cam Newton probably wasn't going to rely on being an elite passer or a accurate type guy. That wasn't going to be the thing that he held his hat on or hung his hat on. What's up, Romeo? What you doing out here? My wife's dog. All right. Cam Newton was going to be a playmaker, regardless of whether he's throwing the ball a bomb or taking off and making plays with his legs, whatever it was. He was going to rely on being more of a playmaker than someone that's consistently going to play with timing and rhythm for an entire game. And I think Kyle Shanahan is looking for the opposite of Cam Newton. So when you look at guys like Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes, Burrow probably going to play a little bit more within the system of the, just consistently be more. He's going to be more consistent with just doing those little things throughout the entirety of a game. And then he will make a play here and there with his legs. Like we've seen that. Patrick Mahomes, he will bail on the play, and he does not care that he bails on the play. Now, within him bailing on the play, he's going to make a play off script. I think that would drive Kyle crazy, even though the results would be great. And when you look at Joe Burrow, I think that's more what Kyle would lean with. So I don't think it's so much about black quarterback, white quarterback, or anything like that as it pertains to Kyle Shanahan. I think he just wants his offense ran a very specific way. Like ideally, he wants it done this way. And I see my guy last second sports. Jesse says Trey has zero issues processing and getting through his reads. He just needs to trust what he sees and know what he can get away with. And obviously that takes playing time. I agree. We got Texas Niner here. He says, I've heard Steve say Trey has confidence issues. I think Trey has kind of talked about that as well, having like some issues with confidence. And I was like, yeah, look at the hell he's kind of been through. And if his confidence didn't go up and down a little bit, I'd say this guy is not human. But he is human. So, what he's had to go through with coming in and throwing a touchdown on his first NFL pass, and then the team saying, we don't want that guy in, we want Jimmy Garoppolo in, if that's truly what happened. That's what the reports are. Like, hey, we don't want him in. We want, don't do that. Right? Like that kind of would hurt your confidence a little bit when it's like, hey, I was third overall pick. Like, you can't utilize me. And then coming in and then getting hurt. And then like the doubts and then coming back and then getting hurt. And then, the doubts and then Brock Purdy playing well. Like I could see how his confidence would get a little shaken up. And you got to figure it out. You got to recover. Because if you don't, then you won't be in the NFL anymore. But the fact that he has some confidence issues, if he's kind of trying to figure that out and get it going, like I understand. Can he come back from it? We got what is that? Patabo Hammer? Do you guys think Trey can transfer all the practice from off season to preseason and training camp, or do you guys think it's going to be hard? I think it's always going to be hard, right? Like just learning new things and then being able to carry that over to the actual season. When them live bullets start flying, a lot of it's just repetitions. So not just like the reps in practice, but when he's not at practice, is he at home going through his motion? We saw and Pickle, can you put him on a hook outside or something? Why'd you let him out?
Because he was crying and I didn't know how
Oh gosh. Well, I can't. You're gonna have to just put him outside. Just pick him up, put him outside. All right. Anyways, sorry about that, guys. Daddy duties. My daughter wasn't supposed to take the dog out yet, and she did. All right, but ultimately, some of the guys that I've seen have to kind of rework a lot of their mechanics. It takes more than just working on it in the summer. It takes understanding what it is that you have to do, where you have to improve, going through that, and then continuing to work on those things. And I think I started to say Patrick Mahomes. I watched Quarterback, an amazing show on Netflix. Watch it if you haven't watched it already. But one thing Patrick Mahomes does, man, he goes to these things and he works and he sees his trainer after they work on his speed and they ramp up stuff and he has this whole routine that he does and figuring out that I think that kind of thing would help Brock Purdy. That thing would help Trey Lance be more consistent. So he can work on those things in the offseason. You got to keep working on it throughout this entire time. All right, here we go. Case 49. Case 49. Good morning. How you doing? Thanks for being patient.
Yeah, no doubt. What's going on, Crocky? How you doing, man?
Oh man, chilling.
Yeah, doing good, man. Doing good. Yeah, man. I'm excited for the season, man. And just to go on the topic of the Steve Young comments, Steve Young, he was doing Steve Young. You know what I mean? Like, he just came from announcing or whatever on ESPN. He was bigging up everybody. He bigged up all three quarterbacks, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like, he had a lot of glowing stuff to say about Purdy. He kept it 100 about Trey. He said, "Hey, man, somebody came in and stole your job. You got to go take it back. You got to try. You got to do everything you can to win your job back." And he's doing that right now. So he recognized that Trey is more focused and trying to get his job back. You know what I'm saying? He also said, "Don't sleep on Sam Darnold." So he was just bigging up all three quarterbacks doing what Steve does. I'm more focused on what Shanahan was saying, like when he was like, nothing is set in stone. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay,
I
hold
like,
on. So there was an interview out there, and I bookmarked it on Twitter, but I forgot to read it. So is that what you're alluding to?
yeah, I'm thinking it came from the little podcast that he had with McVay and McDaniel and all of his coaching tree. I think he had
Hmm.
like an interview that had something to do with that. But he was like, "Yeah, I know everybody wants something set in stone when it comes to the quarterbacks, but there just isn't. Nothing is set in stone." And I mean, he's kind of been like echoing the same thing ever since he's ever been asked about it. Like he's always said, it's going to come down to the silent tape. You know what I'm saying? He said, "Hey, I like to think I make the decision on it, but it's actually going to come down to what we see on tape." And when they actually asked him, I mean, I think it was Mayoko in the press conference actually asked him, if Brock Purdy comes back 100% healthy, is there anything that Trey Lance can do to win his job back? And he said, yeah, he said it'll be very difficult, but it's not impossible. You see what I'm saying? He said he can win his job back. It'll be difficult, but it's not impossible. I've always thought that, anything short of a Super Bowl victory here in San Francisco with the weapons and the team and the defense that we have, you could be replaced. You know what I'm saying? At quarterback. Anything short of a Super Bowl victory. I mean, Brock came in late. He took over a hot team. They were on a 5 game winning streak. He played good with what he had. You know what I'm saying? Like he had Kittle, CMC, everybody at his disposal. That's not his fault. He just came in, next man up, took over what he had, and he played great until he went down to Philly. And, you can debate what happened there. Croft blocking Hassan Reddick, didn't step in the pocket, whatever. The fact of the matter is we lost the game and we didn't make it to the Super Bowl. So we flush all of that. You're only as good as your last game in this league. We flush all of that and we start over new. Like I hear some stuff cry, you know, and it just be bugging me out. You know what I mean? Like I hear people say, well, I think we can all agree that Purdy played better than Trey last year. Is that right? Yeah. And everybody's like, yeah, we can agree. How? What are you comparing it to? Are you comparing it to the monsoon game? Because other than the 15 snaps in Seattle, that's all he had. Like, we really going to compare a game on the road, week one in a monsoon. You know what I'm saying? Like with no Kittle, I think Jimmy Ward was missing. You know, the team had a million penalties on both sides. Debo was out of shape, out of position, running bad routes, fumbling on the goal, fumbling in the red zone. Like he threw one pick in the rain. It was a literal flood in the whole fourth quarter. He threw us one pick in the rain, and we're holding that game against him.
I think that's what people.
Like you're
There
comparing
are a
words.
lot of people that don't care about context. It's just, black and white, and the 49ers lost to the Chicago Bears. So,
Come on, man.
for those people, the fact that it was a monsoon, they don't care about that.
Right,
It's just you lost. I
right,
thought through three quarters, he actually threw the ball very well. And
crap,
then the monsoon hit, and then he didn't throw well. Like
right.
as far as the black and white part, to me, threw the ball very well through three quarters, even though it was raining too. Threw the ball very well through three quarters, made some difficult throws, ran the ball well, and then the monsoon happened, and then he didn't throw the ball well, and he had drops, and you know what I'm saying?
Hey,
Like
Trey.
that's what it looked like. But hey, that's just adding a little bit of
Right.
context to it. But there's a
These
lot of people that don't care. Like you lost a game that you're not supposed to lose to the Chicago Bears, worst team in the NFL. So, and I understand that part of it too.
these are smart people that's saying it, man. Look, Trey, if you didn't know you was a black man, know that you black today, my man. You know what I'm saying? Like I know that you come from Minnesota, you spent some time in North Dakota. I don't know, maybe it's a little different, but today you're gonna know because they holding this monsoon game against you. They breaking it down and talking about you missing plays when Debo was out of position and stuff like that. Like it was just crazy, man. Like they holding that against them. Like, so what are we comparing it to? You know what I mean? If you compare it to the one game that he played with Kittle, where he was 70% completion percentage and they won. So is Purdy, because really Purdy has never played without Kittle. So the only games you can really compare what Purdy has done is to the games at least where Trey has had Kittle at his disposal. You see what I'm saying? Where he
Right.
won. So has Purdy really played better than Trey in that context? You know what I mean? And this is the context that Shanahan is going to look at. People can ignore it. They can listen to Albert Breer and they can listen to Mark Schlereth and Rappaport, whoever they want to listen to. But what really matters is what Kyle Shanahan says. And the man
Right.
said nothing is set in stone. That includes even if Purdy is healthy week one, it's still not set in stone, you know? And it's like, I heard something else. They were saying like, well, it might mess with the team's chemistry. If Purdy's not the starter week one, if healthy, it'll mess with the team's chemistry. Like, who's going to revolt if Trey is starting week one? Debo? No. Ayuk? Is Ayuk going to revolt if Trey is starting week one? No, he might actually get the ball deep this time. Is Trent Williams going to revolt? No. So who are we talking about exactly? Like CMC? Like CMC, he's actually a running back that's making what he's worth. So, you know what I mean? He need to just relax and enjoy the game. He just got here. CMC not going to say anything. Kittle, hey, Trey was just that tight end. Kittle is already on record saying that, Trey is a starter in this league. He looks better. He's confident. I don't think Kittle will revolt if Purdy's not the starter week one. I
Right.
think him and Trey is building that chemistry right now. I think Trey has been building chemistry with the entire team ever since OTAs, and I think that chemistry is continuing. I think they respect Trey's hard work. How you bounce back after adversity. I remember Fred Warner talking about, you know, you're going to face adversity. Whether it's in the middle of the game, middle of the season, it's all about how you respond, how you write your story. And I think that the team is really respectful of what Trey is doing right now. You've heard Armstead talk about it, you know, but yeah, man, I'm excited, man. We're gonna see, man. We're gonna see. But
We're
yeah,
gonna
I
see.
want to give a little pushback on some of those narratives that Purdy undoubtedly played better than Trey, and if healthy, Purdy is undoubtedly the starter. That's not true, y'all. That's not
I
true.
would
Listen,
say with that, and I'll take you off air now. I appreciate you calling in, Case 49.
no doubt.
All right. I would say that Brock Purdy played well over 7, 8 games, and Trey hasn't. So like I think for the black and white crowd, and even in my opinion, you definitely know more about Brock Purdy than you do Trey Lance. And I think that there's a certain comfort level that comes with that for everybody. Even if Trey Lance starts, let's say hypothetically speaking, Lance starts week 1. I don't know how he's going to play. Now let's say Brock Purdy plays week 1. I have more of a feeling of how I feel like Brock Purdy's going to play. And I think for most people, they would say probably played well enough to win the game. So, that's kind of, I think that's where it comes from with people, just feeling more comfortable with one quarterback or the other. All right. We got Mick we got Proctor right here in the chat. He says, here is an issue I have with Shanahan running pistol with Purdy. I don't think he'd really run the pistol with Purdy because I feel like Kyle has more confidence that Brock Purdy would run his offense the way that he wants it ran, to where he wouldn't have to run the pistol. And I don't think he has that same level of confidence in Trey Lance. Now, he also didn't have that same level of confidence in RG3. He also didn't have that same level of confidence in Donovan McNabb. So I don't think it's anything that's just like purely like a Trey Lance issue. I think it's just he doesn't feel like he's there yet. So, hey, we're going to create this kind of makeshift offense and we're going to do it this way. But if he has the confidence that you can run it how he sees fit, then he'll run it that way. And Trey had certain concepts that were very similar to his normal offense, but he also added in the running stuff. And maybe he'll tell you, hey, the running stuff is an added element. Like that's a plus in his opinion to be able to do that. And I do think that Lance wasn't a great designed runner. I think if you go back and watch the games, it's probably better than we think in our minds, but he definitely was a good scrambler at the quarterback position. But we didn't see a whole lot of that. All right, here we go. Justin Fields is waterproof. Lance is not. I don't think Fields was waterproof. I didn't think he threw as well as Trey Lance in that game, and I don't think he ran as well as Trey Lance in the game. But he was waterproof or excelled more than Trey Lance on 2 plays, and those 2 plays really kind of hurt the 49ers. So there was that, and I think that ultimately led to them winning the game, and that's a great job by Justin Fields. Who, hey man, I'm excited to see Justin Fields this year, and I hope he plays well. Again, I'm a football fan first, and Justin Fields is somebody I'm excited to watch this year. But in that game, I don't think he just played better than Trey Lance. I don't think he threw the ball better. I don't think he ran the ball better than Lance in that game. But he did make 2 plays that were better, and we saw that. Trey said Bears L was his fault. No excuses. Trey, if y'all haven't noticed, he's always going to look at himself first and put everything on his shoulder. He's the quarterback of the team, so he's going to always take the blame. Like that was very clear with any time I've heard him speak. It's always about where he can improve and where he can get better. And I think that's part of the reason why a lot of the guys in the locker room love him. That's Kyle Juszczyk's words. And then we got 187 again. He says, Trey has to go. I'm sick of the Trey drama. You know what, man? Me too. I'm sick of it too. And I wish Trey would go. Go somewhere where you have an opportunity to play without the expectations of having to win the Super Bowl, so you can, get all the snaps and learn and all the play and, get that. And go somewhere where, maybe they might appreciate whatever he has to go through a little bit more than you, 187, and the other fan base. So, hell yeah, man. Get Trey out of here so he can go somewhere else and be a little bit more appreciated and have an opportunity, just a legit opportunity. That's what I would see. I would love to see that. So yeah, I'm with you. 187, maybe for different reasons. Appreciate everybody that's here right now in the chat. Hit the like button and
subscribe to this video.
Yes, sir. Hope everybody's having a great day. I see Dynamite David said, yeah, let's trade Lance and have Sam lead us. We'd be begging for Trey to come back. I don't know. Hey, I don't know. I think that I could see Sam doing well in the offense. He has some good stuff. But I don't know. For a guy that has as much bad film out there, I mean, we're talking about 50-something games of just like not great. There sure is a lot of optimism around him, and he might do well. Hey, man, we'll see. But the fact that there's so much optimism about a guy who you've seen play poorly for 50 plus games, as opposed to a guy who's been up and down for 3 games, it's just interesting. It's interesting. It is interesting. All right, that's going to do it for this interesting show. I appreciate everybody that's in the chat, everybody that watched live. Hit the like button and
Subscribe to this video.
subscribe to the video. Click the link below. We got Underdog Fantasy promo code Crocky. They'll double your deposit up to $100. And also, if you want the audio version of this, that link is below as well. Spotify, Apple, or wherever you listen to your streaming platforms. All right, that's going to do it. And we'll be back tomorrow and Wednesday. Let's go. I'm out. Peace.